checking connection. Oh, your door is open. I see it on this shot.
Yeah, I'm gonna go in there.
Okay. It's still a little crooked. It's going over there. Yeah, much better. All right, I think you got it. And my IT department runs away in the background. Hi, everybody. It's Dr. Wendy. We are going live now, and I am here to answer your relationship questions. As usual, when I have a live stream, the first thing I like to know is where you are watching from. So please let me know. It's always fun. Oh, let me open up the comments over here on the StreamYard. Show up in the StreamYard. Okay. Put a banner on. There we go. Hi, everybody. Tell me where you're watching from. It's always nice to know. Hello from Oxnard. Liam, I think. I don't have my contacts on today. I'm going to have to put my glasses when you start putting your questions for sure. Hello, Houston. How are you? Is it Nabil? Can't see. Hi, Costa Mesa. How are you? San Antonio. Wonderful. Chicago. Hello, Chicago. You cannot hear me. Huh. Is it true on Instagram you cannot hear me? On Instagram? Somebody tell me if you can hear me or not on Instagram. It's again because of Spring Valley, Holland, Rosemond, Lisbon. I want to be there. Monroe, Louisiana. Hello. Pinion Hills, California. Can you guys hear me on Instagram? Somebody said you couldn't hear me on Instagram. I'm using a separate microphone. Oh, you can hear fine. Okay, great. You hear me. Good. It's nice to know. And here, let's see. Let me open up my comments over here on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and everywhere else. Hi, everybody. Beverly Hills, Huntington Beach, Alan from Illinois, Fresno. We have a lot more local, I notice, on the other social media, and Instagram up here on this camera seems to be more international. So Carlsbad, hello. How are you, Sushi Pig? Good to have you back. All right, so let's get started talking about relationships. I have noticed in the past few weeks with my radio show, and if you don't listen to it, you should. It's every Sunday from 4 to 6 on KFI AM 640 Los Angeles. You can also listen anytime on the iHeartRadio app, either when I'm live or recordings of past shows are also there. The Dr. Wendy Walsh Show is what you look for. Hello, Ches from India. What time is it for you? Where in India? Hi, Huntington Beach. I got more Illinois, Fresno. I already saw you guys. So I've noticed that in the past few weeks, because if you haven't noticed, my social media during COVID has gotten a lot more engaged and a lot more active. And partly that is due to the fact that I have an amazing, wonderful social media manager, two people actually, December Brown and Ella O'Neill, who have been helping me do so many of my posts. They do the technical stuff. Basically, I have the ideas and the content and they make it happen. So as a result, hi, Tony from Littleton. As a result, so many of you have been sending in your questions, either direct messaging me on Instagram or sending me messages. Sometimes I see them on Facebook Messenger or sending them through my website, drwendywalsh.com. And so on Sundays during my radio show, I usually take 2 or 3 of your questions and read them out, of course, keeping you anonymous. Or confidential, and answering them as best I can. That's also made a lot more people call into the show, because it used to be like, these were really sensitive topics to talk about your intimate relationships and your love relationships, and you're worried that friends or family might be hearing. But I've noticed lately that people are really, somebody's asking me over there on, I think YouTube, if I've gotten the vaccine. Yes, I've gotten both doses of the Moderna vaccine. I am fully vaccinated. It is such a relief. Oh my goodness. It feels so good. I mean, to protect everybody else, because we don't know if I could contract it and carry it, but not have symptoms. I definitely wear a mask wherever I go, still practice social distancing. But just knowing that I'm probably not going to end up in a hospital on a respirator is such a good feeling. So anyway, if you do have relationship questions, then please post them here. I will read them and try to answer them as best I can. If you're new to this live stream or my social media, my name is Dr. Wendy Walsh. I have a PhD in clinical psychology, and I specialize in attachment theory. the ways that people attach across the lifespan. And some of us have a little anxiety around attachment, others have avoidance around attachment, and our attachment style really comes into play in our adult romantic relationships. Do they still say KFI, more stimulating talk radio? No, I think they did. That's an excellent question, Lorenzo Montoya. I don't know whether we still use the slogan more stimulating talk radio. There's so many different slogans that they use for KFI. Oh my God, who's a regular listener who can tell me? We have lots and lots of promotions and lots of slogans. Hi, Frank, how are you? Good to see you too. Anybody have any relationship questions for me as I'm rambling on about attachment theory? There are all kinds of tests you can take online to find out your attachment style. Our attachment style is partly genetic predisposition. We're born as a high need baby or a low need baby, needing more independence or needing more closeness. And then our attachment style or sort of our genetic predisposition meets the environment, which are our primary caregivers. And from there, we sort of shape a kind of blueprint for love in early childhood, in the first few years of life. And then we take that blueprint for love out into the environment, our adult romantic mating marketplace. We call those dating apps, nightclubs, wherever we meet people. And we find people who will meet our idea of what love is, even if love is painful, even if love is felt with neglect or criticism or longing. We will go out and find that person that will activate that in us until we learn to recognize it and change it. Okay, so here's a good question. Somebody says, why do I have dreams of my mate leaving me? Well, I can't tell you exactly your situation and what's been going on in your life, but I'm going to guess that the feeling of your mate potentially leaving you is a feeling of anxiety, right? And so maybe you actually, that's sort of like a familiar metaphor as a place to put your anxiety. I would actually explore it. And my favorite thing to do, especially when you have a recurring dream like this, is to, when you get into the dream, at the end of it, when you're coming out, because that's how you remember it, because it happened usually early in the morning, is you try to stay asleep a little longer and do some lucid dreaming. Change the ending, explore some things with the dream, see where it's taking you. If you'd like to bring the dream forth when you're going to sleep, invite it to come as you're falling asleep, kind of say, hey, dream, come on back. I want to explore you and get to know you. But it sure sounds like that's how your feelings of anxiety, that's the metaphor that it's put. And I know you say you and your mate are in love, so it's not a literal dream. It's not like you're worrying that your mate is going to leave you, but this is a metaphor for some underlying anxiety that you just might have naturally, or it might have to do with something else. Oh, it's an excellent question. Somebody asked, what do I think about people who use astrology to find a companion? I will be honest with you. I have seen all kinds of studies, scientific studies, randomly, not a control group, but randomly selected. What they've done is they've taken a deck of cards with descriptions of people's psychological whatever. They handed them out to them and they told the people, this is Taurus, this is, what are they called? Scorpio, these are the twins, this is, I don't even know the name of them all, Cancer, whatever. And then the people read them and they say, you're right, that's absolutely me. But they don't know the deck has been shuffled and they got a random selection of which astrological sign it was or description it was. So the thing is, if you look at astrology, it's always worded very, very vaguely, and people project onto it whatever they want. And I myself, for instance, am, according to astrology, a Taurus. And I am not a bull. I'm not bullheaded. I'm not rigid. I'm not all those things that they say. So I'm sorry to say there's no science to astrology. But I will say this, if there are people out there using astrology to find a mate, I want to remind you that love is a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you believe you're a good match, you're a good match. If you believe you're in love, right? And so I want to be really clear that it's okay to use that if that works for you, if that's a device that works for you, but there's no science behind astrology. Let's be very, very clear about that. Okay, let's move along and see what else we got down here. Hello from Iowa. There's a good question. Genevieve says, how do you trust your red flags instincts when you have extreme anxiety? So this is a question I get all the time from people, especially who have a kind of anxious attachment style. It's like they're vigilantly looking for signs of abandonment in their primary attachment figures. And as a result, they actually often, not you, I don't know you in your situation, but they actually push their mates away because they're too much. And you will hear their mates say that they're needy or they're clingy, and those are the language that they will use. So the answer is you need an ally. You need a professional observing eye in the form of a therapist that you can call and you can go to and you can say, is this weird? I mean, he's late from work 3 days in a row. Could he be having an affair? No, that's not weird. Now you have to remember, I said it wrong, Geneva, that people with an anxious attachment style are most often attracted to people with an avoidant attachment style. In other words, you have to have something to hang your hat on. So there's the problem right there, is you pull in people who will actually enliven your anxiety. And when you do meet somebody who you can have a secure attachment with, you will often say they're too nice or they're kind of boring, right? Because you don't have the highs and the lows. When you have a secure attachment with somebody, you don't have butterflies in your stomach. That's anxiety. What you have is a feeling of calm, peace, and security. And that's not as exciting. So the answer is, when you see the red flags, ask yourself, is this your body reacting to something that's not real? Or is it something, a red flag that you've ignored in past relationships and now you've learned? We learn through practicing any skill over and over and over. And I highly suggest that having a therapist help you can help a lot. Okay, let's see what else we have. Okay, so Akshay's got a good question that applies to a lot of people. As an anxious attachment, when someone loves us, why do we push them away? But when we chase them, when they leave, help. Okay, so what happens is when someone with an anxious attachment style falls in love with somebody who's avoidant, there's this constant roller coaster and push-pull because, your question was why? Because it actually represents the kind of inconsistent feeling of love that happened in early childhood. Now, I want to be really clear here. When I talk about attachment and what went on, this is not blame the parents hour, okay? Our parents did the best job they could with the tools that they had. And there are also all kinds of things that prohibit parents from having a secure attachment. For instance, maybe they went through a divorce and they were unable to see you in a consistent way. Or in my case, my father was in the Navy, and so he was gone all the time, and we weren't even allowed to know where he was or when he was coming back because it was during the Cold War, and we didn't know what part of the world he was in. So, so it could be just their job, you know, that keeps them away. But for a child, they don't know. And so the answer is, we will continue. We have a compulsion to repeat, as Freud said, a repetition compulsion. We will continue to repeat the same styles of relationships through our life until we're able to gain insight into our piece of it, into our patterns of it. Let's see. Oh, you're welcome. Anybody else have any other questions about love or relationships? It's very complicated. An interesting thing about attachment is that your sexuality sometimes leads you right to your worst nightmares. In other words, when somebody has an anxious attachment style, they will tell me, oh, I met this guy and he's so hot. And oh my God, it's just like, it feels so perfect right away. If you get that initial surge of high, especially sexual energy, you're probably walking straight towards what you don't need again, because our sexuality tends to be wired to bring us our early life conflict again. And the answer for those who want to know how to change their attachment style is a consistent relationship with a licensed therapist. And, it doesn't even matter what letters are after their name, as much as the consistency and respecting what we call the therapeutic frame, all the ethical rules for leaving their own problems out of the room, the therapist, and keeping a set time. And there's a bunch of other rules. That can change. That relationship can change your attachment style. And if you're lucky enough to fall in love with somebody who has a secure attachment style and you don't run away or push them away, then your attachment style can change. And it's important to understand that we have so much neuroplasticity. Our brain is constantly adapting to the environment being the people in our lives. And I want to remind you that we are what we eat. We're also who we hang out with. And so sometimes we do need to, oh, hi, Brian, welcome. I'm going to put you up there just because you're here. And sometimes we do need to change our friend set, because look, if you have an addiction to a substance and you go into AA, the first thing they tell you is get rid of all the enablers in your life, all the friends, and don't have a relationship for a year because you'll be too vulnerable, right? So we know that all kinds of habits are socially contagious. Our love habits, our health habits for sure are socially contagious. So that's really important. It says, suggest you not leave the banner with the question up for as long as you are, because we can't see you. Oh, well, thank you, Lorenzo. Good to know. But what I haven't figured out to do is how to get rid of the banner and put nothing. So I switch from one to another. Let me see if there's like a way to just do. Yeah, it keeps. If I switch it over to this, then we've got that, and that takes away your questions. It's a little bit thinner. There's that. I know you guys on Instagram can't even see what we're doing. So on StreamYard here on my computer, I have two cameras. I'm also streaming on Facebook and where else? Twitter and LinkedIn and YouTube and whatever. But for some reason, StreamYard is not compatible with Instagram. So I use my cell phone up there for Instagram. Instagram, why are you not asking me any questions? I'm seeing all the comments and questions coming in over here, but I'm not seeing any up there on Instagram. Okay. Let me see if there are any more. Go back to comments. Oh, thank you. Somebody just said, keep up the good work and great advice. That's nice. Oh, here's an excellent question. Akshay, you always have the best questions. Akshay asks, what's a good alternative to ghosting? This is super important because nobody likes to be ghosted. However, just to let you know, we all need to grow some alligator skin because this is the way, right? If you've entered a relationship that has very little investment in it, so it's just a few texts, maybe you've had a phone call, maybe you've even had a coffee date or a walking date, and you've only seen each other once. Hey, if it's more than that, you shouldn't be ghosting somebody, and you should just be so grateful if that person does ghost you, because they're going to be a terrible person in a relationship because they have so little emotional and social intelligence. But let's say you're on the other side of it and you've seen somebody maybe once, you've talked on the phone, or maybe you're just texting and you're like, figured out enough here. This person's not for me, but I don't want to ghost them. I want to be a nice person. What can I do? So what I used to do is I had a canned text that I would cut and paste, and it literally said, hey, great meeting you. I don't think romance is in the cards for us, but I'll keep you in mind for a friend. It was great chatting. So you clearly put some closure there. You used past tense. It was great chatting, right? Now, in all the times I've sent out that text, I never had anybody write me back and say, you bitch, how dare you ghost, or how dare you break up with me when we're not even together. I have had people write back and say, hey, thank you. It was nice meeting you too. And how kind of you, right? And then, but most of them just disappear. So they know where they stand. The worst thing that human beings hate is to be left hanging and not knowing where they stand, especially if they have any anxiety around attachment, all right? Somebody says they're my neighbor. Wonder where? I have a bunch of places. I actually do. It's a long story. Okay. Another question is, how can I get a high value, attractive woman if I make low income? Okay, Cobalt, let me explain. This is an excellent question. So we have an oversupply of successful women right now in our culture because we are now in the information age where women are more uniquely selected to extract resources from the environment because of their social sensitivity, their communication skills, their typing skills, everything else. Okay, so we don't need guys necessarily to build railroad tracks anymore. We're not in the industrial age, we're in the information age. So we are seeing far more women graduate college than men, and women are moving up the ranks. Now, one of the problems with this group of women is they all suffer, not all, many suffer from something called the George Clooney effect, where the more education and the more money a woman makes, the more she wants an older, good-looking, making more money guy. Like the Cinderella complex hasn't left her from patriarchy. I lecture women all the time that their idea of a power man maybe should be somebody who can power a stroller, right? So, Cobalt, you need to stay in your masculinity, not lose your self-esteem, and at the same time, be genuinely helpful, but only when you're getting reciprocation back. Okay, so the problem is guys like you fall into the friend zone super easy because you think, well, I can't take her out and wine her and dine her, so I'm going to change the oil on her car. I'm going to set up her Sonos speakers for her. I'm going to be indispensable because I'm going to be so helpful. And before you know it, you're stuck in the friend zone. So what you want to do is show an act of kindness and then disappear and wait and see if she reciprocates in some way. She might say, hey, I'm going to cook dinner. Do you want to come over? Right? That's a reciprocation. So, so you're going to have to be a nice guy, but not too nice. Stay in your self-esteem as a man, keep your masculinity, and don't let your income create your self-identity. Does that make sense? I hope that works. I need real world money. Okay, we do have men building railroad tracks. We do. I just mean we also need people building websites and marketing online, etc. Somebody says no women are offering to cook dinner. I don't know about you, but I cook dinner at least 4 nights a week, and I invite my boyfriend over. Hi, Margaret from Tennessee. If they're not offering to, you should raise your standards a little bit, guys, and ask people what they would like to do. I mean, there's no gender on it. There's lots of other ways women can reciprocate. And if you can't afford to take her out for dinner, you can cook for her too. So it doesn't matter about the gender roles. All right, one more question before I go and start cooking my dinner because my boyfriend's coming over. We're going to do a sort of Asian thing laid out tonight. I got a marriage proposal there over on somewhere. Any more questions? One more question. Don't call all young women lazy. I'm going to throw this one up just because I feel like being self-aggrandizing. How do I attract older, intelligent women with light eyes, blonde hair, and fantastic facial structure? Well, first of all, you're being very superficial. I'll just stop right there because there are women of every facial structure and every eye color and every hair color who can make your life fabulous. Okay, so stop right there. And one last question. I'll take it. Here we go. Question is, who pays for the first date? Well, the first date should not be expensive. The first date should be a meeting, and it should be coffee, and it shouldn't cost more than $12. And so if so, I think sperm chases egg and not the reverse. No matter how much money a woman makes, she wants to feel like she's being cared for a little bit. So the answer is the guy, if it's a heterosexual, heteronormative relationship, right? Same sex, could be anything, right? So I think for the very first time, I'm sounding sexist, but I'm not, because at a basic biological level, sperm chases egg, and you guys are filled with testosterone. Step up there and buy a cup of coffee. Okay, so I love you all. Thank you so much for being here. You should listen to my radio show, which is, let me see, I'll put another banner up that has it. Oh, there it is at the very bottom. Okay. Every Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. on KFI AM 640 Los Angeles. You can listen on, I think it's also Coast HD2 if you don't have AM radio. It's also on the iHeartRadio app anywhere in the world. And if you miss a show that's live, you can catch it the next day because it goes up on the iHeartRadio app. And I do take calls for a portion of the show, usually in the second hour. And the rest of the show is all about the science of dating, mating, relating, and keeping your intimate relationships healthy and safe and fulfilling for everybody. So thanks for being here. I also do a live stream right here every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Good to see you all. We'll see you next week here. Bye. End broadcast there.